So AI is just a tool that can help you get there faster and efficient, not the tool that can imagine something. So if you want to make AI imagine, you need to put a lot of effort to do the micromanaging.
So, welcome to the Design Hive, everybody. This is the Stantec Buildings podcast. Today, we're talking with Hans Davis and David Lee, two of the designers who contributed to the winning entry in our recent IdeaXchange competition. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, specifically AI tools for architecture and design. But first, let's meet Hans and David. Hans, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what kind of projects you work on, how you ended up at Stantec. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks, John. I've been with Stantec nearly 7 years now, and I found myself in architecture by a fairly interesting way. I had a career and degree in sculpture and was working in aviation in public art maintenance and implementation, and had found myself, curious about architecture while the hotel was being added to Denver International Airport. And while attending graduate school for architecture, I had an instructor who was principal here at Stantec in airports, and I was brought on as an intern. It just so happened to be to work on the Denver Art Master Plan, which I had been working with them as a client for many years before. And so that really kicked off my career in architecture and aviation, and have been doing a variety of aviation projects with Stantec since, most notably the Great Hall project, which I'd contributed to for over 5 years, and have just recently moved on to other projects in aviation.
Excellent. Yeah, I forgot. I knew that you had mostly worked on aviation projects, which will come up later in our discussion, I think. How about you, David? Tell us how you ended up at Stantec and what you are doing.
Yeah, hi, I'm David Lee, and I actually started my career with dedicated to the industrial design first because my dream was being a car designer. However, like it became a little kind of less interesting than the car designing. So I begin my career from the smartwatch company that produces some electro signal pulse through the smartwatch and unlock the car or like unlock the houses. That's kind of like property controlling tool as a smartwatch as a property controlling tool. And after that, I felt that this is kind of not matching to me because I was keep changing the proportion of the squares, and like I thought that this I need more dynamics in my design life. So I tried to tweak my major into the interior design and architecture. So I decided to go study abroad, and I had the citizenship in USA, so I just decided to go to USA and started my second major and studied about it for 2 years for master's degree, and that became my sort of life's job, which is interior design and architecture. And like after I came into a kind of USA career path, I became a restaurant designer for interior for a couple years, and I thought that I wanted to do a little more, like a little more kind of bigger projects and have more boundary of design experience, like broader boundary of design experience. So I move on to Stantec with a better portfolio, prep for interview, and that process actually took almost a year. And I transferred to Stantec, and now I have spent 2.5 years here. And I was lucky, to be honest. And I met Colleen Aria, and she helped me introduce into a bigger project in Stantec, Boston, BC. So I was able to join the White Stadium project as an interior design member. And also I had a chance to help out the London and Dubai office for the HBRCH project that has won the WAN
Mm-hmm.
2024. So that was my full experience for 2 years and a half. And after that, we held the IdeaXchange challenge for 2 years. And I think the 2024 is the first one, and 25 is the second one, which is this year. And I felt really intriguing for AI because AI can do a job like really less hours, and also really efficient tool to do the design development and iterations. So I choose to study more, and that becomes kind of my second tweak of my major almost.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get interested and intrigued by AI techniques day by day. And these days I'm helping Brandon Mullins, which is computational design
Mm-hmm.
discipline lead. So I am helping him to settle some workflows, or help him to mitigate the some workflows feasibility studies, and also try my best to bring some new culture of workflow into this company. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Yeah. So you have an interesting story. You went to from the scale of the smartwatch now to the large cancer hospital. It's a
Yeah.
pretty big jump. Um, so David, you started talking about Idea Exchange. Can we, for the listener at home or in their car or on the jogging trail, let's talk about what is Idea Exchange? What it's an internal competition, right? Um, maybe Hans, can you tell us what is this? How did you get involved? What's the purpose of it? And why did you two want to participate? I know you're also a part of a larger team, so maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so yeah, like David had mentioned, Idea Exchange started last year in 2024 by Colleen Haria, and it was a really excellent turnout. And I had the fortunate opportunity to actually serve as an AI mentor last year, and I did not participate, and I saw all of these really wonderful things that these groups were working on that I was mentoring, and um, I loved the experimentation, the opportunity to look into to new innovations that are being brought to our industry and being able to apply them to a project in kind of the virtual space. And so that really encouraged me to apply to participate in this year's competition for 2025. And really it was to one, connect to more people in Stantec that are interested in the same things that I am, passionate about the same things that I am, but also, personally, I wanted an opportunity to explore these innovative things on a personal level rather than serving as a mentor and giving direction from that level. I wanted to be in it. I like to get my hands dirty and understand how things work. I'm a very technical person, and so I saw this as an opportunity to do that, and it was great. And what's funny, David? I don't know how we never talked about this in all of the time is I have a minor in industrial design, and before I started sculpture, I also wanted to be a car designer. And so I too realized that I wasn't going to be a car designer, that I was going to be designing toothbrushes or medical equipment, and that was not at all what I was interested in, and that
Mm-hmm.
that sculpture was my path from that. So it's funny how we kind of came from the same place and we're kind of back at the same place, but found different ways to get there.
So how did you put your team together for this competition?
Actually, I think it is a little bit of random vote for
Mm-hmm,
people who actually assigned for the competition first, and they have been distributing multiple regions people through all the team because they wanted to make more collaboration happen throughout the BC. I mean, they wanted the cross BC relationship going forward. So that was the reason why they kind of put all of us from the other globe into one team. I think
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that's kind of a core value of Idea Exchange every year, that gathering all the people from the other area of the world and try to make some synergy and make some collaboration happen. Yeah.
And from what I remember, when we had spoken before, both of you had played with some of these AI tools over the years, but it's only sort of recently that it feels like they are actually improving the quality of the output so that it's much more realistic to use these on an actual project. Was that something you knew going into this, or is that something you sort of learned through the process?
It's something that I think a few people across Stantec had, been doing already. I know
Mm-hmm.
as far back as probably like 2022, we were starting to look at AI and use it as an early like a conceptual idea tool to generate images that were representative of the design intent, right? We kind of just started using it at like a small level like that. So not generating anything that um, we've like actually designed and not really generating like anything that's like explicitly architecture, right? Or interior design, but really just like design intent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And kind of has grown organically since then. And um, from them, we found, others that were doing this. We started experimenting together, and, we were finding early on that a lot of the stuff that we were generating was not really ready to hit the main stage and be shared with clients or be shared as a viable tool to be used in a daily workflow, right? It was merely at like this has potential to be really good, but it's not quite there yet. But let's experiment with it and see where it can go.
Great. And what was the assignment? What was the idea exchange assignment? So they said make what? What are you supposed to make and what are you supposed to deliver?
Yeah, so IdeaXchange is kind of like also like a test bed for an interdisciplinary design approach,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we had people from uh, all different disciplines, right? Not just architecture, not just interiors. We had an electrical engineer, we had a space planner. So we had a variety of people, and the overall like I guess task that was given was to design an aerospace manufacturing and testing facility, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And office space, and it was relatively generalized to give us opportunity to um, really expand and explore. So it wasn't a very rigid set of design requirements.
And the location was wide open. Is that right? You were able to put
The
this wherever you
loca-
wanted, or was it a
no,
specific location?
yeah, the location was a specific location, but we took the liberty to determine a different location that was more appropriate for what we determined to be our potential client
Mm.
or, test client, I guess. And so
Yeah.
we chose to actually move the facility that was a site that we were given to the other side of the country because it was better serving of what this design guidelines were for this specific client, because we had found through our studies that there were a lot of aerospace industry manufacturers in a specific region in California. And so we realized that for this client in aerospace industry, we would, need them to be sited nearby other manufacturers that they will be collaborating with, right? And so, so we used that information to start to evaluate sites in California.
And so the team assembled, you've got the competition in front of you. When you went into this, what was sort of the approach to the use of AI in this? Did you guys set up rules for yourselves, or was it sort of free form? How did you guys choose which AI tools to use, or for what tasks? Tell me a little bit about that. Let's give this one to David.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we were first starting from the generally helping the floor plan drafting or generating some options for the floor plan was our purpose for the first few weeks. And I agree that like programming or floor plan drafting is a big portion of the design study, and AI can do some research related to the programming so that they can make some more appropriate programming rather than relying on uh, general drafted airplane manufacturing facility plus office spaces. So we try to specify specific people first from the LinkedIn or from the research, and we put that personas into the AI software and try to see what comes out and try to make it more like a space for the people who uses that facility and make the program more intricate. And after that, I was actually involved to some visualization through AI. So I was thinking that was actually experimental stage, and I thought that this is the perfect timing for using this technology and bring this into the design process. So we try to make the floor plan drafting, and after that actually we actually tried a little further for the forms of the architecture, a little bit more parametric, sculptural, like Hans said, like he and I really love to do the sculpturing. So we re-sculptured overall building shape and ask AI to fill the space so that we can see the programming we had developed before inside of our form. And that worked out. At first stage, it was a lot of mistakes and high specific program wasn't working that well, and generating some mistakes for the first few tasks, and we find out different software to try whole another process for one more week, and that was really successful because some funky shapes are not really appreciated by AI tools. So we really wanted to trim our design further and get the better like aesthetics in our design portfolio. So we wanted to bring it further. So we used to use different software than uh, the IdeaXchange challenge provided as a guideline. So we kind of jumped through the other workflow, and after that, we start to bring in the visualization effort in, and that was totally really a experimental stage of the design process. So we were kind of half believe, half not non-believe stage, but it went out really great because we did many of iterations, and we choose um, one option throughout the like 40 images, and we try to make that hitting point smaller and smaller so that we can get the aesthetics what exactly we imagined for the first before we get into the visualization. So we took a lot of reference images in. We tried to do the literature better for matching those design contexts, and we tried our best to like keep iterating the process a little smaller grain, like do the in painting method to make it more detailized and keep fixing the small spaces uh, day by day and make it perfect, more perfect. And choosing the furnitures, and those steps were really fast because we were utilizing different method than we used to do. We don't have to model anything after some stage, somewhat stage, and only ask AI to fix smaller portion of the imagery.
Right. So you said a lot there, and I had a couple of questions come and go. Um, so one thing was interesting. So you're saying in the competition, they sort of had, hey, here's a set of AI tools you could play with, and in your process, you looked at those, but then you ended up going out and finding different tools for different tasks. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
saying? You kind of added to that toolbox.
yeah,
Yeah, we had, I'd say like there were the given AI programs that they wanted us to look into, and then there were the different AI softwares and programs that our team members had already known and used, right?
Mhm.
And then there were the ones that maybe we had heard about and had seen on LinkedIn, and we're like, I'd like to see what that's about, right? It'd be nice to have some time to dig into that, and to see like where that might fit into the workflow. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, that's really kind of how we approached it. And a lot of experimentation, being really open for things to just not work at all, because we understand like it's new, and we've seen it happen like early on when we were working with Midjourney, right? We saw like how bad that stuff was, but we realized like eventually it became much better. And so we know like that's why we even want to try the bad ones. And in fact, HighPar, which is the one that we said we didn't like, the planning tool that we said we didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
I've actually gone back now, and I've found a way to actually make it useful for a project I'm working on. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the one that we were like we didn't like, and I actually found a use for it. So even the bad one actually found a use in a project.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that and David mentioned that is kind of, for me, very reassuring about this whole project, and the way you approach this, is that we're talking a lot about AI. We're talking a lot about these tools that people are very curious about and somewhat fearful of in some ways. But what your team did is you kind of made this a people-centered project in a way, right? Because you looked at who are the people that actually work here, right? The personas are people, and you used AI to generate those, but you kind of designed from the people out. Is that fair to say?
yes. We picked the
Totally.
people from LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
Thank
This
you,
is how we
LinkedIn,
approach
for
regular projects too, So it seemed
yeah.
natural, like that's what we wanted to do. But we didn't have those people to contact, right?
Yeah,
So
right. I mean, right. Yes, right. So normally you'd be interviewing a real client or a real organization, and sort of asking them, okay, how many people do this? How, or talking to the creative team, talking to the engineering team, talking to the marketing team. In this case, they're doing their own talking because they're on LinkedIn, and you're able to use that information to create this fictional project. For me, one of the things that sounds very challenging about this is, with this big toolbox of different AI tools, when you get to each stage in your design project, how do you figure out which tool is the right one? Is that trial and error, or is that, you guys sort of have enough just a basic understanding of what these tools are about, that you can say, okay, I think this one's good for doing a massing study. Let's use that. I think this one, we can teach this one to make this look like a mass timber building or whatever. Was that kind of how it was? Did you have a little bit of a knowledge of them, or was it like pure trial and error with those tools? Hans?
I can speak for myself. Definitely, for the most part, just the general knowledge, because this is something that I'm personally passionate about. I follow it in my personal life, so it's something I'm pretty in tune with, like what's out there and what's being used for what, and it's because I'm just natively curious and want to be in the know. And so I think that there's several members on our team that were like that, and so we all came to this competition with that same mindset, right? Like we know that like there's some really innovative software out there. We'd really like to try it. We kind of understand like what's good at what, and or at least we understand like what is being marketed to us as being good at what, and then it's upon us to be the person or entity that decides that for us. And so I think that's how we really approached it.
And what would you say, what was the sort of biggest surprise or the biggest success that came from this whole project in terms of using AI?
It's so hard. I think like if just to be like I don't know, kind of obtuse about it, is the
Sure.
3D creating a 3D model from an image that David had introduced me to. I hadn't really realized that this could have been something that we applied to the project until David had shared some of the stuff that he had been doing already, and it was an obvious no-brainer. Like, yes, we should figure out how we can apply this to our project. And when David did that, it was like, oh, this is incredible. Like, I cannot believe you're able to do that so easily. And then to take that and create a script with AI to generate the facade from that one 3D element that we created from an image is just like, that's what really inspired me in this project. Was like, we can really start to push the implementation of AI in our approach to design, and make it easier for ourselves, because coding for Grasshopper is hard, and why not use AI to our advantage to help us figure it out quicker and easier, and get to a solution.
Sure. So I worked with the two of you on a blog post, which hopefully by the time this podcast goes out, the blog post will have preceded our podcast here. That's the idea. But one of the things we sort of did was to boil down your AI IdeaXchange competition experience into what I was calling the AI design mantras. Basically, okay, these are ways to think about AI that will help you use it and make it useful in a design context, right? So I'm going to remind you of a few of these and see if you can tell me what it means, or what it how the competition sort of illustrated this point. So the first one we talked about was AI. Look at AI as a tool, not a decision maker. What does that mean? David, you want to take this one?
Answer this one. Yeah. So working on AI, I'm actually working on these days many projects with AI utilization, because after this competition I got a little bit famous, and people reaching out to me to get the work done, like with your AI skill set. So I am using this AI tool to 16 different projects right now, and that has been all successful just because there was a design leadership who can choose whether we go to this path or the another path. So human being is controlling the AI, not the opposite. That was the meaning of that sentence. And why that is coming from like a core value of this study, because most of the time people say, oh, AI is going to take my work, take my job. Actually, it's not really true just because it's another like BIM software. It's just like Revit is not taking your job, right? Revit is a tool that make you do the design work and make the design options, progress the design for the client, and Stantec is really client-centric company that listen to the client and achieve their dream with the practical knowledge. So AI is just a tool that can help you get there faster and efficient, not the tool that can imagine something. So if you want to make AI imagine, you need to put a lot of effort to do the micromanaging AI. It's just like a human being. You need a lot of, if you want to get used to that person and ask the work for the staff, you need to keep understand their knowledge and give your advice, and also you need to think in their shoes to make it a little easier to digest to like a 3D modeling or either a lot of different rendering design options. You need to take time to make that things happen through the staff, right? So it's AI is the same. You are handling the AI to get there a little faster. That's all. So it's another tool. Just it's not nothing scary thing. It's just a assistant for your design process.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, when we were talking, when we were putting the blog post together, we talked about overcoming fear, right? Like this is, and maybe fear is even too strong a word, but could be apprehension. How was this whole experience for you, the two of you, about overcoming fear, and what about it? What helped you overcome fear?
Sure, yeah. You know, it's about just understanding the workings of that given technology, right? Um, you think we have a fear because it's something we don't understand. Like we hear something rustling in the bush, and our first reaction is to be scared because we can't see what it is in the bush. And then the moment that a kitten comes out, unless you're afraid of kittens, you go, "Oh, a kitten! How cute!" Right? Um, that's how I think a lot of us feel about AI is it's the rustling in the bush that we don't know what it is, right? Because um, it's so vast. It's used in so many different ways, right? You hear AI being used in like all kinds of different applications today that um, it becomes overwhelming to try to understand it at a human level. And so, for a process like this competition IdeaXchange, it gives you that very opportunity to investigate it at a human level, right? How can I use Copilot to help me write a persona for a person to help me understand the programmatic requirements for that person's needs, right? It's that like simple to help you get comfortable with AI from a human perspective and at a human level. And so that's what being afraid of it means to me.
Great. And the big part of that, this is another one of our mantras, talked about the importance of experimentation, iteration, and play, right? You're kind of playing in a sandbox with these things to figure out, not for the purpose of fun and entertainment, but to figure out, okay, what's actually useful here. Did you feel like you guys were actually in a state of play at certain points? I guess
Yes.
Experimentation and play kind of bleed into each other, right?
Without a doubt. Because sometimes AI will generate like pretty comical things, right? Like things that are not real and not humanly possible. And so that's pretty funny, when you're like working through something and that just pops up, and that from a basic level, that's that's pretty funny and playful. Um, but I'll say like 100% everything we did was about experimentation and play and understanding, and just allowing yourself to openly explore the capabilities of um, the innovative software that's in front of us. I'll say like that ideation or play or kind of evaluating a number of um, resources that are being fed to you in automotive and industrial design. A lot of times, like um, you spend a lot of time during the ideation phase. Like you will draw the same thing 1,000 times as you work through it, right? And I can make a direct connection from like that approach to design that I was taught early on to how I interact with AI and what it gives to me, instead of me being the one that's like doing the literal sketches, right? I've developed the skill set to understand how to interact with the AI so that it can start to generate those ideations much faster than I can by hand. And then I'm still doing the same thing when it feeds me something back. I'm being the decision maker. Yeah, I like that. I want to change this about that. Here's how I'm making the next prompt to make that change. So it's all play. I mean, that's just the design process. It's playful in my mind, right?
Yeah, especially you mentioned about automobile design process. They actually hire like 50 different people and make them sketch for at least 5 to 10 sketches, and they choose one of them. And that became a second process. Okay, we choose one option. Let's fix it. Let's fix the rim. Let's fix the shape of the front end to the like a middle body of the car frame. That's the process. So AI uh, design process is similar to the automobile sketching and early design conceptual studies, and it is fun. And sometimes AI gives you some disfigured people or like comic-y, like a non-scale based output, and that's all like a little bit scary, but still like it's all about the uh, non-perfect process of the design kind of experiment. Yeah.
It sometimes gives you that the third arm effect or whatever, right? Um, we talked about, and David, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but that you can kind of multiply AI's power when you are combining it, right? Maybe Hans talked about this, when you combine it with other design tools, right? So, Grasshopper is not new to us. I know people have been using it for many years in the Chicago office. But say you figure out a way to use AI with Grasshopper, and you can use it much more quickly and create many more usable iterations with it. Is that kind of an example of what we're saying here? We multiply its power when we combine it with the other tools that we've already got in our toolbox, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we use the process of Grasshopper with GPT or and any other multimodal based AI can help you support those scripting process. And typically, if you're working on the Grasshopper, it takes several hours to debugging those errors, and that trial and errors becomes less if you utilize the AI script way, and also Rhino MCP. You guys might heard about MCP, which is some programming script helping you assist 3D modeling, or Dynamo or Grasshopper tool for complicated design maths uh, computed by design um, software, which is from the other platform, but they access to your computer and do the work instead of you. So this concept is actually working really well for our industry, just because we need so accurate information for everything. Like if you're visualizing something and like if there's a McDonald's next to the building, you need to draw it in a perfect scale. And those things are really helpful with the BIM based softwares, which is perfect for the scaleization. So like already we have those good tools. So why not using that for AI utilization? That was idea for the MCP controlling, but it's still people have some fear about confidentiality. Maybe AI can take my information there, but still, those things have been solved by most of the big companies. So, yeah, I think people need to do more experiment, less fear.
How important is it for you, or within the buildings group at Stantec, to sort of share what you've learned, right? To share these workflows or the discoveries you've made. Do you feel like that's an important part of this whole IdeaXchange experience?
I think it's probably the most important part, right? Taking what we've learned and know and sharing it as widely and broadly as across our group as we possibly can. I don't want to be a gatekeeper of this process. I want to share and learn, and I know that we'll only have a better understanding if it's adopted more widely, and so we can only benefit from sharing our knowledge.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how about, and I think, David, you already mentioned this in a way, that people have found your number, they found your email, and they're calling you up to work on some design visualization projects. How are each of you incorporating what you learned in your day-to-day workflow? Has it changed significantly since you went through this whole experience, this IdeaXchange experience?
I mean, for me, I can speak for myself. I mean, for me, it was 180-degree change it because I used to work on Enscape, used to work on Revit or SketchUp modeling, a little bit of Rhino for some furnitures. However, after this competition happened, I am doing facade automation for multiple projects for I think mid-rise, high-rise. I try to automate those facade generation, 3D modeling done by AI tool, and do the visualization with that result of 3D modeling. So I never have imagined I'm doing this in this company. So I think for me it was 180-degree change it, my work style, workflows, and everything.
What was the end result? What did you guys create from IdeaXchange, for those that are listening to this and not looking at images, which we will include? Um, what did you come up with? What kind of building is it? How would you describe it?
A people-centric building, a building design for the human experience, right? I think, a big thing that we focused on or was the manufacturing space and an understanding of like what that work environment might be like, and I think we really succeeded in making and creating a design that really met our aspirations that we tasked ourselves with.
Yeah, it's a very cool project. I also feel like it's one of those things where once people, when they see the images and see how thoughtfully designed it is, you can kind of feel, there's a human element to it. Yes, maybe, if somebody tells you, oh yeah, we used AI and a bunch of different stages for the design, that's not necessarily what you're going to see when you look at this, right? It still looks like it's more about thoughtful and refined, right? And I think that's another thing you guys talked about a lot is how AI tools are great, but there's still a real intense refinement process where you have to go back and get a lot of details right. I think David, you're explaining that a little bit. There's a giving yourself time to tidy up everything and bring it to a higher level seem to be really important in this process. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah, you're making total sense. I mean, design process with AI is kind of seems like you want to climb up one mountain and someone just drop you on the top of the mountain without no clue. So no clue provided. So you're on top of the mountain and you don't know, am I in the right mountain or not? So you need to try and error for like 100-ish images generation, and you pick one thing and you start kind of making it, refine it to the better grade. And there is a lot of tool available for these days. Upscaling is one of the method for refining, and
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, and also some multimodal language fixing, like a facade color change to red, or those natural language fixing is one other way for, as an example, Nana Banana. They're really good tool for the minimal changes for and keeping all the design consistency, and that's the best. Uh, that's the most important thing for AI to AI design progress. So that's the thing I can talk about, and all the refinement, all the updates will be at the end solidified by the designer who sees that image. So I think it's having those sensibility of um, better graphic quality and also scale perfection from your eyes to the images that will be a successful keywords for the refinement of AI drafted images.
So, end of the day, when someone says, "Hey, do you feel empowered as a designer by AI?" Um, is the answer yes? Is the answer yes? But I want to keep some of these AI mantras in mind. Is it sort of yes, but we need to spend a little extra time making sure that we are running the show. Um, or is it no? I think it's probably yes. What would you say if somebody asked you that?
Yes, but we need to start having some more intense conversations around ethics.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we didn't dive into ethics. We're on this podcast. I think we'll get into that on the next one. How about you, David? What's your response when somebody asks you if AI is empowering you as a designer?
First, 100% agree with the Hans. Hans mentioned about ethics. And also, we need to make some solidified workflows so that people can easily jump in and dive in to this AI work society so that people can uh, disregard the fear and start using the new tool.
Okay, guys, I think we've kind of had a lot of fun here getting in this topic. I think now that you've opened another can of worms talking about the ethics of AI and design, we might have to have you back in 6 months talk some more. Would you be agreeable to that?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure, yeah.
it'd be great to maybe bring in Lolitha or um, someone else that's a little more in tune with AI from that perspective too.
Sure, that sounds great. Okay, thanks, guys, and yeah, thanks so much for joining us on the Design Hive, and we will Talk to you soon. And everybody else who's listening, please go take a look at their blog on the Stantec Ideas website. And like and subscribe our podcast. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.